In alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulallah. We are continuing with the hadiths from Sahih Muslim, the book of business transactions. Today we're going to review some of the rules and guidelines that Allah has put in effect for us in regards to buying and selling. And again, as we were saying before the lecture, Allah wants us to be able to live here on this earth, you know, in contentment and in peace with one another. So that's why Allah makes the rules. For example, Allah made the rule that it is forbidden for a person from the city to represent or be a broker on behalf of someone who is from the country. And the reason being is because the lifestyle is different, the cost of living is different. So Allah put the rule that if you are going to represent as a broker someone from the country, then you have to have knowledge of the life there, the lifestyle there. If you're going to represent a person from the city, you have to have knowledge of the lifestyle there. And that's what's meant. The prophet said the townsman cannot sell on behalf of a man from the desert because this would take advantage of his ignorance of the market based on the conditions of the city. So that's why Allah put that rule. If you're going to be a broker or represent someone and sell on behalf of a person who's from the country, you have to have knowledge of the market there and etc., and not take advantage of them. And on the other hand, if you're going to represent a person who's from the city, you have to have knowledge of the lifestyle and market there as well. And also the prophet said that you cannot ride out to meet the merchandise before the merchandise comes as a means of trying to get all the good goods for yourself. You can't do that. You wait until the merchandise arrives in the town and everyone can try to pick and select what they want. You don't want to go out before it arrives and get all the good stuff and leave the scraps for the other people. And again, when the prophet said that a person from the city cannot represent a person from the town, one of the companions asked, what does that mean? He says that you can't be a broker on that person's behalf unless you have knowledge or an understanding of the lifestyle there. So again, Allah makes the rules for our betterment because He knows His creation better than we know ourselves. And He doesn't want us to take advantage of one another. So that's one of the rules in regards to buying and selling. And also another rule, if you're selling livestock, if you're selling cows or animals that produce milk, look at this picture here. This is a cow. See how this cow's udders are swollen because it has a lot of milk in it or whatnot. So sometimes when they're selling a cow, they may tie the udders up so that the udders don't hang down like this. Well, the prophet said whoever buys a goat that has its udders tied up should go, if you buy the goat, take it home and try to milk it for 3 days. If you are satisfied with the milk that it produces, then keep it. Otherwise, you can return it. So the same if you buy a cow or a sheep or any animal that produces milk. If the seller has the udders tied to keep him from hanging like this, because this is unattractive to see. So they'll tie the udders up. If you buy one that's tied, take it home and you have 3 days to try to see if it'll produce enough milk. If it doesn't produce enough milk, then you have the right to take it back. And that's any animal that produces milk. For example, another hadith, the prophet said if anyone amongst you buys a camel and its udders are tied, he has 2 options. After milking it, he can either return it or keep it. So that's another rule that Allah set in effect for those of us, in regards to business transactions. And also another rule, another guideline is it is invalid to sell the commodity before you have possession of it. And again, a lot of people would buy food stuff before it's even been produced. For example, say I am a farmer and I grow corn. I come to you and say, I'm going to grow some corn, and the corn I grow this year, I'm going to give you such and such amount for such and such price. I haven't even planted the corn. The corn hasn't even been grown. We can't do that because you never know. There may be a drought and you may not be able to produce any corn this year. Or maybe the corn comes out bad. And here you have taken that person's money. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever buys food, a grain, should not sell it until he has taken possession of it. And that's in regards to not just food grain, but anything, clothing, anything. Do not pay for it until you have possession of it, or if you are able to see it, it's already made and you can see it, observe it, and all of that. Again, Allah doesn't want you to be taken advantage of, because how do you know that the crops are going to come out fine? Or how do you know that that sister's garments that she makes are going to be, taste worthy for you? Okay. Also, another hadith, Ibn Umar says, the Prophet said, whoever buys food grain should not sell it before taking possession of it. He said, we used to buy food grain from the caravans in bulk, but the Prophet forbade us to resell it until we have taken it to some other place and all that, and planted it and all of that. So you want the stuff to grow. Okay? So that's another rule that Allah set in effect for us. And again, one of the companions says that the Prophet forbade the sale of a heap of dates, the weight of which is unknown. So again, if you're selling fruits or vegetables, you have to wait till they have been grown. Wait until the person can see the fruit, to see the vegetable, to inspect it, to make sure that the vegetables are not damaged, the fruit is not damaged, and all of that. Again, simple rules for our betterment. Now, what about this? Say you go into a business transaction with another person. You agree to buy, an item from someone. You guys shake hands on the deal. But then all of a sudden you start thinking, wait a minute, I really don't need this item, or I really need the money for something else. Can I break the deal? Well, Islam teaches us that both the buyer and the seller have the right to withdraw from the business transaction as long as they don't leave the place where they made the deal. So say, for example, I'm at your office and I sign a contract agreeing that I'm going to buy such and such from you. But I think about it after I sign the agreement, I'm like, oh my God, I got other bills to pay. I really can't afford this. So I say, wait a minute, let's cancel this. Let's cancel this deal. Then we can do that because I haven't left yet. Okay? The Prophet said both parties to a business transaction have the right to annul it as long as they have not separated from each other, unless you have stipulated that in your contract. Now, if we put in our contract that I have 10 days to change my mind, I have 10 days or 2 weeks or 5 days to rescind my offer, unless that's put in your contract, then that's good. But if it's not put in your contract, we can break the deal or break the agreement as long as we haven't parted from each other. Everybody understands that. When two persons enter into a transaction, each of them has the right to annul it as long as they are not separated from each other and are together at the place of the transaction, or unless one of them gives the other the right to annul it. So unless it's agreed upon, like for example, we can annul this after 5 days or whatever. So again, the rules are made in Islam by Allah to assure that we don't take advantage of one another, because Islam is all about being just. Islam is all about being kind. Islam is all about being fair, even when it comes to our business dealings with each other. Also, another guideline, another condition: whatever you are selling should not be a defect. And if it does have something defective, you let the buyer know. For example, if I'm going to sell you my car and I know that my car needs a transmission, I have to let you know, okay, this is my car. I'm getting ready to sell it to you, but I want you to know it has a bad transmission. It might need a new transmission. You have to let the buyer know. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said both parties in a business transaction have the right to annul it as long as they don't part. And if they speak the truth and make everything clear, then they will be blessed in their business dealing. But if they lie and conceal something, then their transaction will be blotted out. So again, you have to let the person who is buying from you know whatever deficiencies there may be in whatever you're selling. Okay, I'm selling you a jilbab, but I have the zipper in this jilbab is kind of crooked. If you look closer, you can see that this zipper is crooked. Let the person know whatever the defects are. We have a hadith whereas a man mentioned to the Prophet that he was deceived in a business transaction. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, whenever you enter into a transaction, say, there shall be no deceit, there shall be no deceit, there shall be no deceit. And if you say that and the person deceives you, that person has the curse of Allah on him. So we have to be careful. Again, Islam is a beautiful way of life based on being kind, being honest, being fair, and just with one another. And this is something that we've gotten away from. We live in the days of fitna. We're living in the days of corruption where people lie and cheat and hurt each other. People hate each other. People don't know how to get along with each other. You hate me because of the way I look, the color of my skin, my background, or my preference in life. This is not Islam. Okay, even though our religion may not agree with people coming from a different, social whatever, we still have to be kind and fair in how we treat them. You don't let your personal feelings or whatever interfere when it comes to your business transactions. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was fair and just in all his business transactions. When he interacted with the Jews, he was very just with them and kind with them. When he interacted with the Romans and the Persians, he was kind and gentle, and everybody respected him. You may not have to like me, just respect me. That's what Islam is about, guys. Learning to respect one another. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like my choices. You don't have to like my lifestyle or the way I look. But respect me, unless I give you reason not to. If I come to you with a business transaction, don't lie, don't cheat, don't deceive me. Be fair. Be fair with me. And that's what Islam is about. So what do we learn from these hadiths? We learn, first of all, that a person with no knowledge of the cost of living who is from the city cannot represent or be a broker for someone who's from the country unless they have knowledge of the country, and vice versa. Also, we learned that if you're buying any type of animal that produces milk and the udder is tied, then the buyer has 3 days to assure that the animal produces enough milk before taking it back. Also, we learned that you cannot make deals to sell food stuff before growing it. Also, we learned you cannot make deals to sell food stuff before having the food actually in your possession. And also, we learned that when you enter into a business transaction, both parties have the option to cancel the deal as long as they have not left the area where they made the transaction, or unless it's stipulated in the contract. And finally, we learned today that when entering into business transactions, we have to be honest. We have to be fair in regards to what we are selling. Any damages that we know about should be reported. So, again, these are wonderful hadiths for us to think about. And this doesn't just apply when selling animals, anything. I mean, when you're selling your jewelry or anything that you're selling, be just, be kind, people. On that note, we'll stop right here for today. Tomorrow, what we're going to do, I'm going to give you a quiz to cover what we discussed today. And then we're going to move on to the next chapters from the book of business transactions. Again, I hope you all see that our way of life is a wonderful way of life based on justice, based on goodness. Everything that Allah made lawful is good and clean. And Allah doesn't hate anything that He made lawful. The only thing Allah hates are the things He made unlawful. So stay away from those things. And the unlawful things have been clearly defined by Allah to us. So we'll stop right here. If you have any questions or comments, if more clarification is needed on a hadith or something, please type it on the screen. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.